Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hall of Code. We actually have a very special guest with us today, Vaishnavi. We had a little bit of confusion initially with starting the entire webinar, with the timings being a little off. But I guess we're definitely going to cover it up with the kind of content we're going to deliver to all of you guys. So Vaishnavi, without further ado, do you want to maybe give us a small introduction about who you are? And we can then take it up from there. You're on mute, Vaishnavi, so we won't be able to.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Anirudh. So, I'm Vaishnavi and I am currently uh, I don't know how to introduce myself basically, but I'm trying my best. I am currently building this community experience called Meshi Spotlight, which is like one of the things that is almost always on my mind. So that is like the first thing that I can think of right now. But Meshi Spotlight is essentially like a community for students trying to navigate their careers in tech. Apart from that, I'm a student. I'm just a student and I'm an engineering student. Like every other engineering student, I'm a part of different communities and I go to a college which is not that well known, which is, I mean, not worth mentioning either. But apart from that, like I've been into coding and development for a very long time, and I mean, I've dabbled into different kinds of things, and I think I have to thank communities for that. Since this session is about that, so I'm just gonna like preface it with that. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Apart from all of these things, I'm currently also like a developer advocate intern at Scalar Academy, which is the only internship I'm doing right now. Usually I'm like doing like 2 or 3 internships at the same time, but right now I'm like I have to focus on like some of my academics as well. So I just like sort of try to lessen the load, and also Mechi Spotlight. So yeah, like that's pretty much about me. And yeah.
Before we jump in, I think I would sort of want to jump a little bit more into Michi Spotlight, because I think the first time I sort of connected with you was on this other Discord channel, which is Saba. I heard you speak for the first time, and I was just blown. I was like, oh my God, how is she doing and managing all of these things together? That was actually one of the first times that I got in touch with you, and like I asked you a bunch of questions. Weirdly, I think one of them you got the opportunity to sort of take up. But yeah, I mean that's how we started out. But if you could tell us a little bit more about Michi Spotlight, that would be awesome because I really love the kind of community you're building there. It'd be awesome to sort of hear that out.
Yeah. So for Michi Spotlight, essentially it's a community for students and I mean strictly for students because I mean there are a lot of students in different colleges in India, not just engineering colleges, but like almost any college, and they want to build a career in tech, which is essentially the tech ecosystem. If you watch Silicon Valley, you know what the tech ecosystem is. And it's not just Silicon Valley, it's like everywhere now because it's remote, right? So, and there are so many different kinds of roles available in the tech industry. And most of the students are sort of deluded by this fact that you have to become a software engineer in order to get a good job in tech, which is highly paid, and you'll be able to do something out of your life. And the only way to get a job like that is to there's a linear path to that. There's just one roadmap to that you have to do DSA and solve a bunch of questions, like a couple of hundred questions, and participate in weird competitions for 3 4 hours. And honestly, I mean, I might be biased here. I don't want to do those things, which is all right, but like in general, nobody should do things which are sort of linear. As in, if something's not unique to you, if you're not doing something that is not unique to you, then obviously like you're just following someone else, and that is not gonna help you maybe later in life.
Correct.
Obviously right now, usually students have very small goals, that I want to be a software engineer, I want to be this person, or I want to go in this role. And then let me just ask this person who's working at Microsoft as a software engineer. So I'm just going to ask them how they did it, and I'm going to do exactly the same things that they did. But that is not how you, go about things. But unfortunately, that's what students think is the way. Because I mean, we've always, at least Indians have been grown up with this mentality that you have to like follow some kind of path to achieve things, but that's not true. And the whole reason I started Michi Spotlight was so that people can figure out what their own path is, and maybe they get an opportunity to take the road not taken, and probably pursue that path, make it the common fad and make it mainstream, right? So I mean, until I think 10 years ago, nobody was going into software engineering, but someone made it a fad, right? Someone got that job, and then everybody started going in that direction.
Correct.
So if you try to like experiment with things and try to figure out your own path, you'll be able to like end up in a place where nobody else I mean, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I am like completely unique, nobody's like me. That is not true. But you should have something that is, that sets you apart basically. And the only way to do that is to figure out your own path. And that's what Michi Spotlight does to students. It initially started as a newsletter, and it was basically like answering questions that came into my DMs. So a lot of people used to ask me the same question: how do I get an internship at this company, or how do I get referrals, how do I ask people for referrals, or how do I do open source, or and like things like that. I'm even related to a little bit of tech and dev and all of those things, and even design and all, because I've dabbled with everything, like sort of. I started off as a designer, and then I became a developer, and then I became a machine learning engineer. Then I thought that I don't want to sit behind the computer for most of my job, because I have a lot of other skills as well. Like 60% of my skill set is something that you have to do outside of the computer, like not sitting behind the computer, even though I'm sitting behind the computer right now, but that's just because you're online. But yeah, like I think that I wanted to utilize my entire variety of skill set, because I won't be able to do it once I'm once I graduate or once I get a job. Then I'll just have to like go with the grind and do one thing, and then everybody will be like, yeah, this is your area of expertise, and I'm just gonna ask you questions related to this. So that is not something I wanted to like do. So I try to explore as much as I can, and I want to help other students as well to explore the same things. I don't want people to think that software engineering is the only thing that you can do in tech. A lot of students just force themselves to do DSA, which is not something that it's. I mean, fine, it's fine. Like you have to, if you really like it, then do it. But don't force yourself to do it. And then like just like JEE, this is just like JEE, that okay, this is just something that we have to do, and like just to like please our parents or please someone else, or even for ourselves. But yeah, that is sort of the aim around it. I know I've been rambling on for a while, but but yeah, that was the reason. And one more reason was that when I was in my first year, like I was like a very, I don't know, not, I won't say shy, but I would say that I didn't know who to approach for my doubts and everything. And I just thought that even in my college, even still, like there are still people who don't know who to approach. And not just my college, but almost every tier 3 or tier 2 college, or any college for that matter, even like people from BITS and IITs and all, they are also a little bit confused most of the times if they're not in touch with their seniors or something. So just like, helping hand kind of a senior helping out people to understand things as they are, and then you can just use that information to try out your own thing. So that was essentially the idea behind it.
I mean, that is alone like a really good cause that you're starting out with, because you're not just helping yourself with the entire event. Because I think when I did initially also look up Michi Spotlights, I was like, it sounds like a very exciting, like it fills a very exciting void or a gap which is essential right now. Because most people who reach out to me also have the same kind of questions. They're like, hey, I don't know DSA very well. Is there a way I can sort of upskill and sort of get into every fang that is possible? But that's not really what you need. You just need to find a niche that you really fit into, and maybe excel at that. Do something around it that really works. Because just like you, I really like dabbling with design, not as well as you, but I really enjoy dabbling with design and with products and with technology in general. So that's a very that's a very interesting niche to sort of be in. But yeah, I mean, over to you as to how developer communities have sort of helped you out entirely, or what kind of role they've really played in, the person that Vaishnavi is today. If you could sort of
Right.
give us an idea on that, yeah.
Okay. So, like, I mean, I don't have any snazzy stories here, but maybe I do. I don't know. So, like, when I was so basically, when we talk about communities, also communities are just I mean, a bunch of your friends. You know how you used to go to college. I was going to say school, but college, because you're in college. So when you used to go to college, you had assignments and you had your degree, whatever degree you did. And when you went to your class, there were people around you, maybe some of your friends who faced the same struggles as you. They had to complete unnecessary assignments, like, just I don't know, for some kind of torture that teachers want to inflict on students. But apart from that, you have to give your exams. You have to study. Like, if you're not understanding a concept, maybe you just start 10 minutes before the exam begins, and then your friend just pitches in and, like, explains it to you, explains the concepts to you. So that is what a community is. You have shared struggles, you are facing the same things, you have the same interests, maybe not entirely same, but maybe diverse in the right kind of way. Maybe you are, there is someone who is a designer, who's a developer. There's also a machine learning person, and there's someone from the industry. You can just sort of uh, come together and, like, try to understand each other's struggles and try to understand how to overcome them. So the reason I gave the college example is because this is all these are all the things, these were the kind of communities we were a part of when we were offline. But now that we are online, we have to, like, our community landscape has changed into, like, connecting with people from all across the world using usually Discord, because Discord is the tool for communities these days. And obviously, some communities like that are a little bit more professional, not necessarily student oriented, they have Slack. So these kind of tools, communication tools, sort of enabled online communities as well. So I think the most important part here is that, like, when you are a part of a community, you need to be able to relate with at least some of the members of the community. And it's not necessary, obviously, but it's necessary to fit in and to understand that, okay, this is probably for me. If you like doing DSA and solving DSA problems every day and night, then maybe some communities do that. Just join those communities. If you like to do backend development, some communities do that, so you can join those. There is a very big community around product management called the Product Folks in India, and they are doing amazing work. They're like, they have product teardowns, which I participate in regularly, but I don't know, like, for some reason I didn't win or something, but that's fine. I just started. out, but it really helped me to just get myself out there, right? And I could relate with other people because we share a common goal. We share a common goal of becoming a product manager one day or the other. So that is sort of how communities work. And this is like, I'm literally like just copy pasting everything from my GitHub Campus Experts module. So this is like what you're taught. But essentially that's the idea of communities. And like you can either be a community leader or you can be a community member. But honestly, even if you are a community member, you are a leader at the end of the day if you take initiative. So if I'm a part of some other community which, which is not run by me, or I'm not like necessarily a volunteer or a moderator over there, if I am engaging a lot over there, then I am taking initiative to help other people, and I'm giving back to the community essentially. And I am in some way or the other a community leader. And I think one day or the other, someone might recognize my efforts and they will probably like give me a moderator role or something. But that shouldn't be your motivation behind doing these things. But just to sort of help other people overcome the challenges that you may have faced at some point in your life, or getting your doubts solved from people who have been in the same place as you. So, and like it's basically about letting your ego and everything aside and just like ask questions and try to understand what is wrong and how to improve. So like not necessarily seeking a roadmap that how to do this, how to do that, but generally just trying to like, because asking questions is a very, very important skill that you learn in communities. Now, if you talk about my own journey in communities, when I was in second year, I really wanted to be a GitHub Campus Expert, but my college did not give out this college issued email IDs, and I was not able to get the student developer pack, which is essential to apply for the program. So I was like, you know what, I don't need this program. I'm just gonna start a group of my own. And basically I just rolled out a form, and I think 40 people filled it. And like we just wanted to learn GitHub. That's it. Like nothing else. We just wanted to learn how to use Git and how to like push code onto GitHub. And honestly, I'm telling you this, I was very, very surprised. Nobody knew what GitHub was at my college. And they still, some way or the other, they just wanted to learn or something. Maybe they were just passionate to learn. So they were curious. So they just like, they knew that I was a developer and I knew a lot of things. And they were like, "Haan, ye sikha degi," or "No, this she will help us understand these concepts." So yeah, like I think there were 40 people. And then I hosted my first meetup, and I think 5 people showed up in my college canteen. And that was all right. That was very cool. Everybody bought their laptops and we just started coding. And then they were like, okay, how to do this command? Okay, how to clone a Git repository? I was like, "Okay, this is the command." And then there came a command that I didn't know. Okay, I was like, I was very new to GitHub myself. I was like, I did not know GitHub, honestly, but I was just going out on a limb and saying that, okay, we'll learn, we'll figure it out together. So we did that. And then I was like Googling how to do this with GitHub. And then everybody around me was laughing. Like, you don't know anything and you're just like fooling with us. I'm like, software engineering is about Googling, being able to Google. And all of them, they were like, okay, that is actually very, helpful. So we're just going to do that. And then essentially what happened was like, I think 5 of us, we like right now, even maybe a year later, I got into the GDSC program, which is the Google Developer Student Clubs program. So all of us like sort of came together and, we helped out other community members. Now around 100 people in our college know how to use GitHub. So that is the power of community. It starts with 2 people. It then compounds to like more and more people as you go on. Because even if you help like 3 people, let's just take 3 people, because like that one, even if one person needs my help, I will help them. That analogy is like, okay, I mean, it's fine. But let's just say we help 3 people, those 3 people will help 3 people, and then that's how it's gonna compound. I know, very finance kind of term. So yeah, like that's how it works. And then at the end of the day, you have yourself a community. So even though I did not have a platform, this is like lesson number 1 here for students who did not get into GitHub Campus Experts or GDSC or any other kind of program, MSLA, and what, there's so many different kinds of platforms which help you become a community leader. But honestly, you don't need any of them. Some students are like, you don't get permission to start a club in your college. You don't need permission of anyone. You just have to make a Google form and like just ask people to fill it. Just send them emails for a Google Meet invite, and then just call them up. That's it. And like they just come in and we'll just talk about stuff, and that's it. That is what a community is at the end of the day. And even with Mirchi Spotlight, we have around 800 people right now. But I mean, even though for some communities it's like, oh, we have 40,000 people, we have 50,000 people, that is fine, honestly. But as long as like maximum amount of people are getting, that benefit, that is what communities are for. So that, nobody's doubts are, not getting solved or anything. That shouldn't happen in a community. So I mean, lesson number 1 is you don't need any programs. You just have to have that passion for giving back to the community. And this is something that I advise everyone who's also applying to these programs, because like if you want to be a community leader, you need to have that will to help other people, because then it unless it comes naturally, it you won't want to do it. Because I know a lot of people personally who do these programs just for the swag and the certificates and all of those things, and then they just like they do 1 or 2 events, and then they just like, okay, this is more than enough for me to get my certificate, so I'm just gonna go now and do my internships.
Correct.
So that's not something that should happen. So yeah, that's that. And even when, so I think the biggest advantage for me while working as in communities was, number 1, I got to talk to a lot of people, network with them, not just people who are beginners or anything. I obviously get to interact with those people because they come to me and they ask their doubts, and that's fine. But then I also got to interact with people who are actually in the industry and they are very experienced, when I was like going into other communities as well. So once I started my own community, I was like, okay, this is nice. I'll just like, I'll go to other communities as well and try to meet other people. And that is the lesson number 2, that when you are in a community, try to take advantage of the fact that there are like 50,000 people in the server, or and then just try to just randomly jump onto any VC or anything, and just talk to people, even though you might be shy. I mean, now you are online. You don't have to like, if you say something embarrassing, you can just like cut the call and go away. So
I'm
that's
sorry, I have
fine.
really bad internet.
So yeah, like that's fine. Yeah, bad internet as well. And or I am not able to hear you. Let me just like disconnect or something.
Just to interrupt, that's literally how I came across. Like, I came across your Twitter profile also, because I usually like follow a lot of a bunch of people who actually are super active on LinkedIn and stuff. And I really like the kind of content you post also. So I go on to Twitter and I simply randomly see a bunch of spaces and things like that. And most of the spaces end with people saying, hey, there's a glitch. I'm so sorry. We had to end the space. But there was not much to talk about. That's mostly why it happens. So
Yeah.
it's just a very comfortable space, even with the entire remote thing and the virtual thing work out. But yeah, please continue. I'm so sorry for cutting you off.
No, that's fine. Like, actually, that's a really great example. Twitter has been like one of the best things that has happened to me, because like when I was active on LinkedIn for almost a year before I joined Twitter. And I think that that's the case with most of the people these days. Like most of the people are jumping onto Twitter, which
I
is fine.
agree.
So what happens is that on LinkedIn, it's more like one way thing. Like you are posting content, people are commenting, oh, agreed, 100, interested or something, and then you're like, yeah, that's fine, thank you for commenting, because yeah, that's increasing my engagement and people are getting to know about me. And honestly, I get surprised sometimes that there are so many people who know me via LinkedIn, and I don't know them because we never interacted. They just saw my post. That was it. Like that was the only interaction. And the thing about LinkedIn is that it's good for building an audience, right? So if you want to become an influencer, you can go to LinkedIn. And not just an influencer, just to like, I mean, LinkedIn essentially is a networking platform, and you have to DM people to actually do that. But honestly, like LinkedIn DMs are very inconvenient. Honestly, that is one thing. And secondly, like I just feel that like LinkedIn does not provide that kind of interactivity with people, and Twitter does that for you. Because when I post a tweet, there are like so many replies, and then I'll just reply to everyone's tweet, and then we just like connect there, and then they DM me or I DM them, and then that's how the conversation continues. And then like that is just one way. Then there's spaces, Twitter spaces. So you go to spaces, you host spaces, or you just jump into random spaces, and people are like, oh, Vaishnavi, oh, I saw your tweet that day, just jump on, become a speaker and like talk about this topic. So I'm like, yeah, that's great, I can do that. And then that's how you connect with more and more people. So Twitter, like I think just being on Twitter for 5 months now, I've connected with almost around 100 people. And 100 is very, very less, honestly. People connect with a lot more people because they DM and they actively engage. And I don't do that because I'm a little lazy and I have a lot of work as well. So I don't get to do that a lot. But yeah, like I got to engage with a lot of people. But LinkedIn, it was like a little bit restrictive. You just post content and people read it, and then you don't know about the reader. Because I mean, obviously not every post is a comment worthy. Like for some people, like not everyone is going to be like, oh, agreed or 100 or something, because they feel like, okay, why should I even like do those things? That's creepy. Okay, like if someone is sane and wise, and someone worthy of being connected to, won't actually like make those creepy comments on your post. So you don't necessarily get to interact with them. So yeah, I mean, that's basically like the platform. But I think Discord is sort of enabling that as well. Like I am a part of so many different Discord communities. Like now, even through Twitter, when I go to like a Discord, then people are like, oh, Vaishnavi, hi, how are you? And then people like who they are friends with, they I also get connected with them as well. Because they are like, oh, okay, who is Vaishnavi, what are you? And then I just like introduce myself, and then they introduce themselves, and then we collaborate or something.
Correct.
And I think when we talk about collaboration, that is one of the main things about communities. So like in communities are not like companies or organizations or your college committees. So in my college, I don't know if I should say this, but a lot of my college committees, like different committees, they're always at odds with each other. They're like, you don't go there. If you are working in this community or committee, you can only work here. Either you work there or here. We'll just give you an ultimatum for that. So they actually do give ultimatums out like that. You either work here or there, and you won't get a certificate if you work at both places or something like that. They have this kind of possessiveness towards people. But communities are not like that. Communities are very, very like friendly people, and they are very cool. So what they do is that, like, let me just give you examples also. So if let's say there's a community called Eddie Hub, which is like one of the greatest developer communities that I know. And Eddie runs the community because Eddie Hub, so Eddie.
Correct.
And if let's say tomorrow, if I want to like collaborate with Eddie. He won't be like, oh, no, my community has a lot more people than yours, and like we are doing kind of the same thing. So you know what? No. So that won't happen. Like if I go reach out to Eddie or any other community leader out there, they'll just be like, okay, yeah, sure, let's do a Twitter space, like, let's just catch up for 15 minutes. I reached out to Aditya Oberoi. So he was a MLH coach before, and like he's currently working as a developer advocate at App, right? So I just texted him like, you know what, I want to do this session on DevRel, since you are doing like DevRel and all. So I just want to do it. Within 2 minutes, he said that sure, okay, what date? Just tell me. Let's do it tomorrow only. Tomorrow at 5. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's do it quickly only. That'll be great. So and then by the end of the week, we had the video out and everybody loved it, because obviously they got to learn about a new profession that way. So I mean, that's how communities work. Like they are not like, okay, if I'm working for this community, I can't work for that community. That's not it. Like if you are a part of multiple communities, that's completely all right. You don't have to be like completely loyal to one community and that's it. Although the, communities essentially mean that sense of loyalty towards that one thing, but when it comes to tech communities, everybody's sort of doing the same thing. So you should be loyal towards the the bigger purpose
Cause.
here. Yeah, and the cause. So I mean, when you are devoted to the cause, then no matter what medium you choose to devote yourself to the cause, that's fine. So as long as you are able to devote yourself, because there are certain communities who are just like doing things for promotions and branding and whatnot, and probably building their own product or something. Usually these are like company based communities, but I won't say company based communities are bad, because like GitHub has like one of the best communities. MLH has the best communities, even though they are like a hackathon communities. They're like entirely community based only, but still like even like GitHub has GitHub Campus Experts program, so they are like doing great work. Even Google is doing great work with their communities. Microsoft is doing great work with communities that are with student community leaders, and even Hacker Earth is doing a great job at communities. Yeah. So I just feel that like only like obviously there are just certain companies that are just doing communities for the for the branding and everything. If you're doing it with the right perspective and the right mindset, only then it will work. Because if you're just doing it to promote your product, then I don't think it's gonna work that way. But yeah, that's that. And yeah, I mean that is pretty much it from my end. Like if you have any questions, then that will like sort of
Sure. I have a bunch of questions and I've noted down a bunch of them also. We have some from so we actually before the session, yesterday we sort of put it up on Instagram, and we got a bunch of DMs where people were like, hey, can you also include this question? Because the topic was extremely open-ended, and I've noted most of them down. If there are any more, obviously I will send them over to you, and maybe you can help us out with them. To begin with, I just wanted to jump into, so you mentioned that communities are, from my understanding, also have been in the community space for about 2 years now. It's a very transactional, it's a very transactional process where it's not just you getting those swags and the certificates that are required. It's also you sort of trying to give a lot more of your knowledge and what you are doing in the community, right? So how do you strike that balance as a student? How do you know, if I'm a fresher, I don't know what I'm doing at all. What value do I really add if I'm supposed to join Michi Spotlights? Like, how do I add any value to it? How do I add any kind of value to the community?
Right. So I think as a member of the community, not the only way, but like one way to add value is by just participating. That's all. So when most of these communities, the community leaders are putting in a lot of effort and their own time to organize these events so that, you know, members of their community can benefit from them. And they give out swag or some of those things as motivation usually. But like, let's just break this down into two. Like, for community members, if you are a community member, then you can just like you know, show your support by showing up basically. And even when you are like, you know, even if there are not any events happening, just be active on the Discord server. Just try to ask your questions or answer other people's questions. So that's that. And if you're a community leader who is selected in one of these programs like Google DSC and Microsoft LSA, MLSA, whatever. So not whatever, like, it's a good program, sorry.
It just goes to say how much experience you have with communities, because Vaishnavi names like 15 communities straight out and she messes up one towards the end. She's like, wait, I know it. Just give me a second. But yeah, please continue.
Yeah, like, I mean, these communities are also like, they are just, these companies are sort of just giving you a platform as a student to rise up and, you know, help other students. Because I, as a student, chalo, theek hai, I have that leadership quality or something. That's why I started the GitHub wala thing. But not everybody is maybe, you know, not that much of an extrovert, or they don't know how to get started. Like, I knew because I thought that this is like, okay, I tried something new. Okay, but not a lot of people you know, get that idea that, okay, maybe I can do this. So what these programs provide is a platform for you as a community leader, like to rise up as a community leader and help other students at your college or campus or whatever. And even like from people who are outside, because obviously like right now everything's online, so
Correct.
you can help everyone. So but more importantly, the people at your college. So I mean, I think when it comes to swags and all of those things, use those as like, if you want, you can just use that as a motivation, like a slight motivation to help other people. But honestly, if you use it as your main motivation, that, okay, if I do this, I will get a lot of swags. Honestly, I'll just say this. If you want more swags, if swags is your biggest, you know, thing, then you won't get that many swags. I'm just saying, because
That
like,
was totally very honest, very unfiltered.
yeah, yeah, like, so I mean, people, let's just take an example here. Okay, let's just take the example of Kunal Kushwaha. Okay, he is a great community person, and like, he's a great person. Okay, like, ठीक है, जो भी है, but if you just look at you know, his, I mean, एक दिन उसके घर पे जाओ, if you go to his house, then you will see so many swags, because every other day he's like posting so many photos of swags. Why? Because not because he's driven towards swags and like he's like, oh, I just want to chase swags and stuff. He's just doing his work. Okay, and then simultaneously, like, the swags are just like a result of the work that he's doing, right? And that
perfect.
is, yeah. And I think there's a thing also for that, but I'm not sure how it goes. But it's something like karam karo and fal ki chinta mat karo, right? So maybe do something like that. If you are like, if you think that, you know, I want some swags because my mom and dad are not buying me bottles and t-shirts and stuff, and I just need these things for free because I don't have the money to buy these things on my own. Or maybe I just want branded stuff and just go out there and show that, oh, I work at GitHub, or like, see, I have this GitHub t-shirt or GitHub bag or something. So if that is your thing, then just don't care about swags at all. Just do your work and then you will get swags on your own. So I mean, that's that. But don't use it as a motivation, because it spoils the whole spirit of communities, the swag part of things, even though they are meant as like a token of appreciation and like obviously a token of branding as well for the company itself. But like, I mean they just used as something that I mean, something to thank you for the work that you have done. Just treat it like that. Don't treat it like, oh, free mein saman or something. My mom says that, no, this is not for free. You worked hard for this. That's why you got it. So treat it like something that you've earned, obviously. And don't just chase after those things. Like if even in Hacktoberfest and like these kind of events where you get t-shirts and stickers and all of those things, like 30 days of Google Cloud is happening right now, and people are chasing, like people are so crazy behind swags that they just I mean, Google servers are thinking that's a DDoS attack on their Google Forms. So so yeah, like don't do that. Maybe shift that motivation towards helping people, so that will help you sustain more in the community space, I think. So yeah.
I think that was very well said, because just showing up does half of the work for you.
Yeah.
I feel like that is very essential when you're building something from zero. When you're building something very special, even for your college students, like you mentioned, right? You just showing up in that canteen on the first day meant a lot, because those 5 people, I'm pretty certain you would have come like in touch with later also, who would have showed up
Yeah.
and been like, yeah, I mean, I was a part when it was just 6 of us and we used to look up commands on Google. So I mean, it does make complete sense. Just a couple of questions that we've gotten from the community also, Vaishnavi. And this is also one of my personal favorite questions, which is why do you have to have a brand presence if you're a developer? What value does it add for you to have a brand presence on LinkedIn or on Twitter?
So I think there are a couple of benefits, more than a couple of benefits. For me, I'll just talk about myself, okay? Because I don't know what other benefits are, what other people get as benefits for having a brand presence. But for me, I'll just like talk about a few experiences, and that's it. Like I won't go on for a long time. But essentially, when I joined LinkedIn, I think I had won some kind of scholarship, okay, from Udacity, and I just posted about that, and like people are like, okay, you are into ML, that's great. Then after a while, I started doing this internship at my college itself. It was like a fake internship, completely fake. Then due to that internship, like I was very active on LinkedIn, as in like I used to post about my achievements way before everybody started posting and doing things. So like I used to post about everything that I could probably get, like even if I'm getting like a promotional email, congratulations Vaishnavi, I just like post it, okay, yeah, someone said congratulations, so here's the post. So I did that back in 2019, I think very early 2019, and that's how I got my first internship at my own college, because nobody knew me like apart from my college people, like nobody else knew me that way. So there was this guy who was building this Flutter application, not actually Flutter, but like he was building an Android app, and he saw that I have some experience with Android and stuff, and he just like he was just like, I'm not able to find any people, so you help me. So I tried that, and then we realized that in our college, surprisingly, there are 70% iOS users and only
Wow.
30% Android users. I was
Android
like,
user.
okay, rich people in our college. That's nice, I guess. So then we switched to Flutter, because we thought that we don't wanna like exclude these Android people. Flutter was a very new framework, and I built this app, and I think I had we deployed it on Play Store. I didn't help that much towards the end, but I helped initially, and I learned Flutter through that experience basically. And when I posted about that on LinkedIn, and I included that in my profile and my brand and everything, what happened was that I immediately started getting a lot of offers for Flutter development, and that is happening with my brother right now as well. Like he also started doing Flutter development, and now he's getting a lot of offers and good jobs and stuff. So that was one of the very many benefits that I was able to get internship offers into my DM, where people are crying that I want an internship, I want a job, please get me a job. People are crying on LinkedIn, legit. And I'm like, okay, someone just offered me like a 1 lakh CTC or a job in my DMs, so let me just sort of try to
Appreciate it.
appreciate my brand presence first, and then anything else after that. So I mean, that is that's the whole concept behind like building in public and being present out there. Because there are a lot of people who say, let your work speak, but that's not how it works today. Because I mean, today there is so much noise that you have to be the loudest to for people to hear you. So that is how it works essentially. And so once I did that, like used to get a lot of offers. I picked some of them as well. I started working at this company called Bottle. Then from Bottle, I did so many things at Bottle. Like started off as a Flutter developer, then back end, front end, web, product management,
Wow.
DevOps. So many different things I tried on Bottle, because like it was like like they gave me a playground to like experiment with everything. So and it was a startup, so it was like they also didn't know what to do, and I also didn't know what to do, so we were just like trying stuff out. So that's how I got into so many different things. And when I used to post about these things, like when someone sees my profile of Bottle on my LinkedIn, they're like, there's this dot 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 thing, that Flutter developer, software intern, software engineer, then DevOps engineer, then something else altogether, like product manager. And then at the end, like I just started doing UX, which is like completely different from what I used to do. So just trying to figure things out. And I think that is the second benefit. When you have that kind of brand, you can also try to experiment with a lot of things, and you are inherently aware of the different opportunities that are out there, because people are sharing those with you either, or you have that kind of reach where you are able to like see what the different opportunities are, and then choose for yourself what is, like maybe try it out yourself, and then using process of elimination, come up with that one thing that you want to do for the rest of your life, which is 30-40 years or whatever. So I mean, that is what you need to do as a student. So yeah, like that is another benefit. And and then the most recent benefit that I got was that through Twitter, I got the job at Scalar. And I think from all the, like, if you see my LinkedIn profile, all the internships that have been listed there, I did not apply to a single one of them. That is like my biggest flex ever. So I did
It
not.
is a big flex knowing how internships are very hard to get right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So that is like, I think the biggest benefit. And obviously, like, then you get invited by Hacker Earth to do talks, and then you get invited to different places to do a lot of talks. So I have so many DMs on my LinkedIn for doing a session on UX design, even though that is not something that I am professionally involved in. But people just saw my previous workshop, and then they just like asked me to do another one, then I do that one, and then people see that one and then
And then
invite
there's
me
more
for
requests.
another. So that is how it goes. Then that is how sort of you build that brand around those things. So now apparently I have a brand around design and all of those things, even though like I'm not even a product designer, I'm not even working as a product designer, yet I'm giving talks on these things because people think that I'm good at that. And I think I am, because I'm able to explain things properly and everything. And I did a lot of courses, did a lot of self-learning as well, and did a lot of projects as well. So I think, I mean, that makes me a little bit, I think more approachable than the product designers who are actually working in the industry. But yeah, these are some of the benefits that I got from my personal brand. And I think it's very, very important for every student to have one. And like, even if you're like, if you're wondering what to post and what to do, you just talk about your experience on a day-to-day basis as a student, because as a student your life is very happening. It's not like you're going to a 9 to 5 job or something. And if your life is not happening at the age where you are a student, then you are not doing it right, basically. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
No, I guess that makes a lot of sense, because what to just clarify what you mean by not happening. I mean, I think it's probably from a point where if you're not really experimenting as a student, if you're not trying a bunch of things and failing at a lot of things, I feel like you're not doing enough because you just have so much time on your hands, and it's just the best time to be experimenting with everything. So that definitely makes sense. You also sort of answered the next question, which was how do you grab the right opportunities with the presence that you build? But I think it just opens up a lot of doors for LinkedIn, like in general. And I don't even have, I'm not as active as you are, Vaishnavi, and I still see a bunch of people reaching out, and being like, hey, like we're trying something cool with this product. Is there, can you maybe give us some kind of feedback? And I'm like, for sure, I would love to. Not a product manager, by the way. I've never had any experience, and it's still it's very warm to see like people reach out to you, and it's just super easy. So I think LinkedIn and Twitter having a brand presence, irrespective of if you're a developer or not one, just opens up a bunch of opportunities for you, which is very interesting. Off the top of your head, Vaishnavi, three things, if you had to say, three learnings, very short learnings that you've gotten from all the community experience that you've gathered.
Okay. So I just don't want to like say anything. So I'm
Got
just
it.
gonna think for like 5 seconds.
For sure.
And so yeah, like I think the first thing that I really liked about being a part of the community and everything is that like if you're helping others, in a way you're also helping yourself. And like as a part of communities, you get so many opportunities to, first of all, network, second of all, help other people. And when you're helping other people, sometimes you try to articulate your own experiences as well. I mean, that's what I learned from the newsletter I started, like for Michi Spotlight, that even though I have so much experience doing so many things, I have in no way a perfect articulation of what I went through. So once I write about these things, write about my experience and share it with other people, I also get to take my own advice, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is one other sort of learning. I don't know what the first one was, but just sort of abstracting these
We
two
will
into
we
one.
will break it down into 3 points in the description
Yeah,
for everybody to sort of take it out.
yeah.
But one more, Vaishnavi, I have to. If you
Mhm.
have one more learning, key learning that you've taken away, we've done two. If you have one more, then that would be awesome.
Yeah. So I think like being a part of communities makes you like a very nice person, I think. That is that is certainly true, because when I was in college, like I had that committee mindset. Committee as in, you are superior as a
Hmm.
community leader, as a leader you are superior, and everybody is like in a hierarchy of things, that under you there is like, there are certain people who are like coordinators, under them there are like other people.
Hmm.
So I mean, having that kind of like, if you are doing like, if you are um yeah, I mean, seeking that kind of experiences in your college, because like not a lot of students when they enter college in first year, they're not aware of external communities. So they're just aware of the committees that are in their college, like CSI and all of those things. But I don't want to name anyone, but still I'm just saying.
Vaishnavi
um
staying out of trouble entirely.
yeah. So the thing is that, like, don't try to don't try to experience that kind, don't try to be in that kind of environment where everybody is like, where your leaders are people who are like egocentric. Okay, if you're a part of that kind of communities or committees or whatever it is, just like push yourself out of that and try to find other community, because there are so many different communities out there. All you have to do is search, or you can just follow me. I'll just like talk about communities and stuff, and you'll know where to find them. I used to do this segment in my newsletter as well. What are some of the communities you should follow, you should join and all. So I mentioned a lot of communities, like, so I'll mention it here also, so that it will count as a shout out, as well as for it will be helpful for people who are seeking communities as well. So there is Michi Spotlight. Obviously, you can join our Discord server and subscribe to our newsletter and YouTube channel. Apart from that, there is developer student community, which is run by Kartike. Um, there's Friends of Figma Mumbai, which is going to be which will get started in October, again run by me only. But yeah, like not promoting myself a lot here. Then there's Eddie Hub by Eddie, community classrooms by Kunal Kushwaha, and there's Bash Woman. Uh, I forgot her name. Oh my god. Anyway, um, then there is what are some of the other community. I think there's Sawa as well, which is a great community for content creators, and there's Scalar Academy Discord, because I mean there are like a lot of people there. There's Blue Learn, there's Sid Hacks, which is started by Siddharth Dalwal. Hack This Fall community, again started by him as well. Like even though it's a hackathon centric community, like they do a lot of different things there. So, and obviously MLH, though, like that is like a community you have to be a part of if you're a student, right? Yes, Bash run by Khushi Sharma. Yes, that's right.
Thank
There's
you,
Coders
Praveen.
Evoke. There are other communities as well. Like I think and yeah, like there's Google Developer Student Clubs in your college and everything. And there's GDSC RAIT, which is like the chapter that I started, which is a great chapter because we get like a lot of people.
Mhm.
And obviously Praveen Kumar, definitely follow his YouTube channel as well. I mean, great content, obviously. But yeah, like these are some of the communities on the top of my head. If I forgot someone, like don't like kill me or something. But but yeah, I mean, these are just like some of the communities that I I think mentioned in my newsletter. So I mentioned these communities. Like I have stopped doing that, but I'll start doing that again. But try to I mean, if you can, just subscribe to Michi Spotlight and you'll know what are the different communities out there which you can follow. There's also Tanya Pratap, which is like who has an amazing community for web developers. So if you think that software engineering, or if you want to be a software engineer but you don't want to do DSA, you can go follow Tanya Pratap. And like his Discord server, Team Tanya, it is like a gold mine of information, and I definitely recommend. And if you want to be a product manager, the best community out there is the product folks. So like I mean, there are different communities for different purposes, so just like find that one purpose of your own and then just pursue it. I think I don't know any machine learning communities, so that is weird because I don't know. But yeah, like I was a part of the Udacity Bertelsmann scholarship thing. So we had a community on Slack for that. It was a great community because everybody used to ask their doubts and everything. But yeah, like try to apply for those kind of scholarships, so that that was like my first experience being in a community. I was also a student leader there, and I
Mhm.
organized a study jam, and it was great. So yeah, like these are some of the communities. Now I'll stop talking. So yeah.
No, I think we'll try to cover all of them. I'm not sure if we'll be able to add all of them, but most of them that you've mentioned, we'll
Yeah.
obviously drop links to them in the description so everybody can sort of follow. With Michi Spotlights obviously being on top,
Yeah.
for sure. I think that's about it from the question side. Vaishnavi, we just before we sort of end the webinar entirely, we always have a ritual where we ask Vaishnavi if there's one quote or something that sticks to you, or learning that has stuck with you in sort of mentioning or in sort of you becoming who you are today. Can you share that with us? Because we would love to know a little bit more about how you sort of got here, and what is that one learning that you can actually share with us.
So I think I've already mentioned this thing that, but I mean, this is like one of the things that I learned the hard way.
Mhm.
I used to think that, you have to work hard in silence, and then just like one day you'll have this big company and you can just like brag about it with people. That's not how it works, at least not today. I mean, sure, it might work for some people, but doesn't. So there's always like a lot of noise, and you have your voice should be the loudest if you want people to hear it. So and I think that is very important if you're like trying to build a personal brand, and even personal brand, and even a brand around the product that you're building, or even like towards the cause that you are, you know, passionate about. So I think building in public has been the best sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, you don't like, just don't you know, burn yourself out as well. That is also one thing. I know it's completely random, but you know, like a lot of people say these things, that don't stop until you know, succeed or something. Don't try to sort of like distill that kind of quality in communities that you are a part of, because taking rest, taking breaks is a part of life. And if you are taking breaks, you might actually do much better once you're like done with the break. So yeah, just be a human. Okay, don't try to hustle your way out of it. Don't try to be Shaktiman or Superman or something. You're not Batman, even though I'm pretty sure. But like I always say that I'm Batman. I used to say that I'm Batman because I used to like working alone and everything. But when I was a part of communities, I got to learn how to work with other people. And I mean, I think working with other people makes sure that whatever work you're doing, it's of the best quality that it can be. So I think it's not one code, but sure, it's just like a stream of consciousness, I think. But yeah.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. Just stick to your roots and be just know that if things don't work out, there's always more things that sort of
Yeah.
are coming your way. Just keep at it, and build in public. This is something that we usually do recommend all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's about it, Vaishnavi. I have run out of questions. I know we've changed the timing a little bit for the webinar, which caused a little bit of confusion. But I hope that everybody sort of enjoyed the session, and I'm sure that there'll be a lot of people who'll be reaching out to you on LinkedIn, asking you questions about this webinar. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you so much for accepting our invite for Hall of Code. I'm sure everybody's going to love the session, and you've absolutely been amazing. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi.
Yeah. All right.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.